Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we are still discussing about the nature of human potential, and we are discussing on chapter 4 how we are going to traverse life in facing all the new challenges. And in the previous chapter, previous talk, I explained to you about how epigenetics affects our gene, our DNA and RNA, and how we can avoid being controlled by nature in a sense, by having nurture of a good system of life based on spiritual, emotional, mental and physical wellness and well-being. So I'm going to continue on chapter 4. I read a few more paragraphs and then I explain to you what are the parameters of this 21st century that we're going to face, what kind of knowledge that we're going to face, and how we're going to understand the nature of our being and our existence in this world in the 21st century. Just the epigenetics is only about 15 years old, the science of epigenetics, but Muslim psychologists and Muslim futurists must think about how it affects the ummah for us to traverse the 21st century. But there are a lot more dangers in the 21st century than we ever imagined. I'm going to discuss with you, but I'll read one or two paragraphs from here first. Okay, when we look about human potential, the general misunderstanding takes place when we observe some situation or event taking place. We often attempt to account for those situations or events by describing the reasons or causes. The reason we come out often those which appear obvious or seems logical. For example, when primitive people saw the sun crosses the sky every day, there's an attempt to explain the event. There are many early explanations given, such as the sun is being carried by a giant bird across the sky, or the sun was a blazing chariot of a god crossing the sky. After those primitive mythological explanations were discounted by early scientists, a new belief arose. That new belief was that the sun was a heavenly body which revolves around the earth. That belief was almost universally accepted and appeared to be the obvious truth. Those who now had that new truth about the sun nature could look back at the myth of these primitive ancestors, something ridiculous. Only a few hundred years ago, it was finally proven that the sun does not revolve around the earth, but instead the earth revolves around the sun. This came as a shock to many, and that new truth took a long time to be accepted. The mistake of each stage of incorrect knowledge was to think that what appeared to be must really it be. Indeed, this is constantly the recurring idea in the new worldview, that things are as they are, but not how they appear to be. We must be forever testing our perception to see if they accurately represent the truth. We may appear to be totally obvious, but we also may be completely wrong. And this is where I want to bring you to this idea of how this 21st century, a lot of climate scientists are saying that we're going to face the end of the world by another 100 years. These climate scientists are not joking. They are telling, and this empirical truth is already happening. So shall we face by the end 2030s onward that we face what kind of global catastrophe, that the world as we know today may not exist. So the 21st and the 22nd century would be the last of the existence of the human species on this earth, because we are the new species. So these are the obvious truths that we do not accept. Alright, 99% of the climate scientists says that, for example, what are the scientific proof of this new understanding of the end of the 21st century if we do not do anything? Climate scientists has predicted that our temperature will go up by more than 2 degrees in about 50 years. So in 50 years, we would have, by 2070, we'll have a 2 degrees temperature rise. This 2 degree temperature rise will have a massive destruction in terms of massive drought, massive snowfall, massive storm, and as a result, maybe about 3 billion human beings will have to suffer. And by 2030s, our temperature rise, based on the exponential curve that we're facing now, the temperature may rise by about 4 to 5 degrees. By then, many life forms will all be totally extinct. That means the bees will be extinct, the microbes will be extinct, the virus will be extinct, The amoeba will be extinct. Those in the sea will all be extinct. The coral will be extinct. So this is a reality. This is the curve that we are seeing, because why? It is a human hands that cause it. So Allah tells us about this event 1,400 years ago. It is your own hand that causes destruction. And when these people were asked in the Al-Quran, Surah Baqarah, Allah asked them, you are not those people who cause corruption and mischief on this earth. You know what they say? Oh, we are those who are muslihun, those who are doing good. So people like Donald Trump, people like those who are in the fossil fuel industry, oh, we are doing good because we are giving GDP, we're giving rise to employment, but in that process, we are destroying this earth. Now, the carbon dioxide level, the CO2 level, now is the highest ever in 615,000 years. And at that time, 650,000 years ago, the climate change was such that there was 400 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere, and the sea level rises by 15 feet. So imagine the sea rises another 25 to 75 feet by another 100 years. So these are the signs of the end of the world. I'm not going to say that I'm going to frighten you to think about it, but these are all consensus by more and more climate scientists, that we are going to face massive drought, massive hunger, massive snow, massive storm, and the sixth mass extinction of all species on earth. So we are a young species. We are only about 200,000 years on this earth, maybe, wallahu alam. All right, so if we continue our own hands, our own destruction of emitting pollutant into the atmosphere, will cause a temperature rise about 4 degrees to 5 degrees. By then, there's no hope, there's no return. So we have basically about 15 to 20 years now to find new technologies, which we have. We have within the third industrial revolution, we have the technology to overcome fossil fuel. We have the technology to go green. We have the technology to introduce permaculture instead of monoculture. We have the technology to have healthy, wealthy, happy people on this planet, if only we change away from our desire, greed. This is where, all right, this word greed. This is destroying us. This greed is the destruction of humanity. So this knowledge is not known. It's not that I'm telling you this knowledge because I read some books and I see these writings on Wikipedia and so on. But these are the facts. If we don't change, we will all, Muslims, non-Muslims, the birds, the bees, the cats, the dogs, will all suffer on this good earth. So we have basically 15 years for us to change. And the technology for that change is available. For example, we have now the improvement of solar panel, which you can replace the fossil fuel. We have the wind energy, we have the wave energy, we have so many other technological advances. We have roof tiles by Elon Musk where you can catch the solar energy and then you can feed your solar energy and sell it back to the power company. You are producing more energy than you need. So when there is an integration of the need for renewable energy, and then we have this fifth generation of internet, we can put it together, we can create a mass movement of Muslims and non-Muslims. But most important for Muslims is we must take cognizance of this danger which is facing our ummah 15 to 20 years from now. And we must all work together collectively to see how we can have and use this new knowledge in which we are, some of you may be ignorant, but now after viewing my video, you should not be ignorant. Go to Wikipedia, go to YouTube, go to Google, search, and you'll find that we hardly have time to save our grandchildren. Not far. I have grandchildren. I'm thinking, how are they going to survive 30, 50, 70 years from now if we continue to destroy our good earth, destroy everything that we have because we think that we are the masters of the world. We are this insignificant being created by Allah to be His Khalifa on this earth, to be His sincere servant, for us to change, to realize that we have to change and continue our good life or we perish. So this is the message I'm going to tell you. The potential of human being for great success is there. The potential of human being to destroy themselves is also there. How do we find a way out? And this is where I hope to inspire you to understand that this dunya as we see today, this physical world as we see today, is not something that you are told by those so-called political masters and those super rich and so on. They are there just out of greed, not telling you the reality that all of us got to face in 50 years from now, when the sea level has risen 15 to 20 feet. Where are we going to live? Where will be the fertile farms? Where will be the bees to pollinate? Where will be the fishes? Where will be us as human beings on this good earth? So I hope by telling you this aspect of psychology of human nature, we can be the best of the best. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. We can be the worst of the worst. So the manifestation of the worst now is manifested in this 21st century. And not far from now, if we don't take cognizance of this reality, all of us will suffer. Many of our children, our grandchildren will suffer, and they will curse and swear at this generation that is causing this massive destruction because of greed. So let's hope we can save ourselves and our family and save humanity and save all these goodly creatures on this good earth created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Turn back to nature, turn back to hope, living a life that is peaceful, as the Caliph of Allah, striving always to make ourselves good, help others to be good, and make the world good, inshallah.